Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I'm here with Alyssa.
Hello.
And a new face on the podcast, Eric Crownover.
Hello.
And we are here to talk to you today about the Titans Return cartoon.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's something.
It's something, all right.
It happened.
It happened, and why don't you tell us what happened in the cartoon, Eric?
All right. So to recap, although if you haven't watched it, you should. Anyway, what happened in it?
Well,
is
you can watch the
after being
podcast
a
to
Combiner
save
Wars,
yourself from watching it.
Metroplex is awake, and Windblade's talking to her, and Mistress of Flame is like, "Hey, Optimus, you should stay and help us, clean everything up." He goes, "No," and leaves. And then Starscream becomes Triptychon, because why not? And then starts, coming down, destroying everything, kills Metroplex. And basically, they have this long journey to revive Fortress Maximus, and Fortress Maximus comes, and he fights them, and there's explosions, and then all the good guys beat Triptychon, and then at the very end, Mark Hamill shows up and tells everyone that you're screwed, and kills Optimus Prime and leaves.
Great summary.
That was a really amazing summary. I also appreciate the fact that you just didn't mention the character's name and just went to Mark Hamill.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the character's name. That was very much on purpose. It's just Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Also known as, Megatronus Prime, but really Mark Hamill. Also, sassy Megatron was pretty funny throughout it still. I wouldn't say
he was an ass sassy.
Yeah, it wasn't peak sassiness, but it was still pretty good. He beat all of the Combiners in one fight, which was hilariously bad, but it was just awesome that Megatron did it.
Oh, are you talking about Megatron?
Oh, it's him,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. That
was... and Overlord likes to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken now. I think that's the only thing I missed.
Yeah. Hot Rod's there. People died.
Oh yeah, he's all bad now.
Yeah. He
He
went goth.
Yeah, now he's all black. He's
He
very
decided
edgy.
to
Sort of
try
like if
on
you've seen
some,
Spider-Man 3, it's sort of like that, like Hot Rod. Imagine him as Spider-Man, and then he gets a black paint job, and he's like, "I am so cool right now." But we'll see more of that in the next series.
Yeah. But whoops.
That was smooth.
But I do need to say, because I think I talked over Eric when he mentioned this, but this is a sequel to the Combiner Wars cartoon, so...
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes.
And it will have a sequel as well.
Yeah, Power of the Primes will get a cartoon at some point, and this time it won't happen before the next toy line shows up.
That's a plus?
Because Combiner Wars came out when Titans Return was in full swing. Titans Return was about to come out at the tail end, but then Power of the Prime started showing up like the week of its airing. So
yep. So it was close, but
close. But Power of the Prime should be out this year, and Power of the Prime Twilight will still be out this year. But we should talk about the Titans Return cartoon, even though that's going to probably be painful.
Not quite as painful as the last one, though.
Yeah,
that's at least a plus.
It's a plus. I'd say that.
So we're starting out with positives, right?
Yes. We are going to try to get this conversation rolling with some positives before we talk about the rest of the cartoon.
So I don't know about you guys. Did you guys wait till it all came out, or did you watch it episode by week, like as they came out? Like, did you watch it all at once, or did you watch it episode by episode?
So I watched it all at once.
I watched it episode by episode.
Okay, so my point only applies to you, but Combiner Wars, whenever it came out, it had super, super short episodes, and that was a major problem for it. Which, if you watch it as a whole, which I think is what you should do anyways if you're going to watch it, I think it's much better that way. No, it's much better that way than it is the other way. I'm not saying it's good, but it still is way better. But I totally just lost my train of thought. Oh, but the episodes were longer this time. Like, they actually specifically extended each episode.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked that. I mean, I still think that there were some problems of each episode being cut a little bit short, but not nearly as bad as Combiner Wars
No.
was in terms of that specifically. I thought that was managed a lot better. But again, if you're watching the whole thing all at once it comes out, that honestly just doesn't apply.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you had the chance to watch it when the episodes came out, since it was pretty much an exclusive to the Go 90 platform.
Yeah, although I think it is free to watch on there.
Yeah, it's free to watch there.
But still, you have to.
If you want to, but it's also only in the United States. But
I did not know that.
I just checked the external links on the wiki, and apparently, if you want to watch it else in the rest of the world, you gotta go to the Tumblr. So I don't know. I don't understand. But positive things. Yeah, I do think. Yeah, this was a 10-episode series instead of 8 episodes at 11 minutes per episode instead of like 5. And that I definitely think helped with the pacing that plagued Combiner Wars a lot.
Yep, I agree too. I think one of the biggest problems that I had, one of the many problems that I had with Combiner Wars is that, and this is especially coming from someone who does not have the expansive knowledge of Transformers that many other people might have. When Windblade shows up, I don't know who she is. I don't know why she's fighting. I know why, but I just don't. One of the things that I didn't like was that I didn't really get a good grasp of what Windblade was doing or why she was doing what she was doing. And I feel like if Combiner Wars had devoted more time and like had bigger episode lengths and like devoted that time to Windblade and like explained or rather like showed what was up with her, I probably would have been more engaged in her character.
That wasn't not big Transformers thing. She was very out of character for anyone that knows anything about her character. So yeah, that wasn't even like I'm not a fan, so I don't understand about this character. If you were a fan, it'd be even more confusing because her character was very much not a killer.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, she was like,
and then in Combiner Wars, she was very much a let's kill everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. In the comics, she's much at least when it came out. I know she's changed a bit, but she was definitely the naive, idealistic sort.
Yeah, she's still not the murdery type in the comics.
Yeah, but
not quite as naive, but
yeah. Yeah, it's certainly not as naive, but not murdery at any rate. Which basically defined her character for Combiner Wars.
Which I did think they really scaled back on that for this series. I don't even think she killed anyone. Look at you go, Windblade. Good job.
Yay.
No, she mostly just talked to city.
So yeah, she talked to city people and little heads that go inside the cities. Cerebros.
Yeah, and also she also got electrocuted.
Yep, that's
for
what
like a good minute and a half or something. Just hearing her going like screaming for like.
She did have a little banter with Hot Rod.
She did.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hot Rod. Notice how we said Hot Rod, not Rodimus Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because in the beginning of this, he just straight up gives up the Matrix.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime gets back the Matrix later, but yeah, he just gives up the Matrix, and then that is what leads to our introduction of the certain character that I actually kind of liked from the series, which was Overlord.
Mm-hmm.
Because Overlord shows up and basically plants a seed for the next series, Power of the Primes, where he, we don't see what he puts in it, but we're assuming it's some kind of evil, dead Matrix thing.
Yep.
And he puts it in Rodimus Prime. He says, I need you to carry something for me. And then at the very end of the series, we see him, and he is now Rodimus Kron. Now, the toy for Power of the Primes is called Rodimus Unicronus, but the cast listing for Power of the Primes has it as Rodimus Kron. So I'm guessing that's like the inverse of Prime is Kron.
Yeah.
Which I kind of dig.
Yeah.
But yeah, Overlord, he has a very interesting accent, and I gotta say that I actually found his character so ridiculous and just laughable that I actually like it. I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, it's
not saying he's good, but
I unfortunately feel like that Southern accent, if Overlord were to ever appear in another cartoon, which, I mean, I have no clue. I would be very surprised if he appeared in another cartoon down the line, but that if anything were to be pulled out of this series, it would probably be his accent.
I think this is the first time Overlord's been in an American cartoon.
Yeah,
actually.
it's been the first time in an American cartoon. He was in the...
Yeah, he's in Japanese.
What was the Japanese one he was in? Master Force?
I believe so. And then he also played a big part in the UK. I think they got his toy and stuff. But
yeah.
I think. But yeah, we in America have never actually gotten Overlord. I mean, we did get like convention exclusives. We got like a repaint of a deluxe figure, but this is the first like real
Voyager
version of G1. Wait, did you say Voyager?
Yeah, it was the Voyager Bludgeon.
Oh, it was a Voyager? I thought it was a deluxe.
No, it was a Voyager. It was the...
My bad. But either way, this is the first time we've gotten G1 Overlord in America. Yeah. So,
I mean, the toy is good. I'm glad we saw it in the cartoon.
Yeah, we never saw him transform. Oh, no, we did. We saw the tank, I think. Yes. I don't remember seeing the plane, but I do remember the tank at the very least.
No, the plane was there.
Okay. No, I believe it. I just don't remember it.
Again, understandable. It was like 2 seconds of screen time.
Yep. He killed the Mistress of Flame, which is okay because he probably did the series a favor in that because she was the worst in the problem of being super stiff. And just the animation with her especially was bad, and I didn't think her voice acting was that good either, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's probably the voice that I had the most problem with, aside from one other one, which we'll get to later. Yeah. SoundJack already knows what I'm going to talk about, but yeah, Lana McKissick, who is the voice actress for Mistress of Flame, I didn't really... think she
but she did not.
Yeah, she just didn't have any inflection, and like I understand the idea about it was that Mistress of Flame is sort of this, very serious, upright personality, but you can still have inflection when you
at least a little.
Yeah, when you give a delivery like that, then maybe I can believe that she's. Wants to do things instead of just...
Especially in her death scene, too, Like, you think you'd be a little more emotional when you're getting killed or have essentially died and you're giving your last words or something like that. Yeah. But no, she's just nothing.
Granted, even from some of the great voice actors we have, a lot of them had really poor performances. So maybe it was more of the voice director's fault. To an extent. Obviously, like, her performance is definitely the worst, but I do remember, I'm pretty sure it was like a Radio Free Cybertron, someone was commenting, like, maybe, like, if the voice director was better, then that might have improved the series a whole lot.
Yes, that is very true.
Also, I want to point out that this, I noticed that they changed out the voice actors for Optimus Prime. I believe in Combiner Wars it was John Bailey.
It was,
John Bailey, guy. Who I thought did a great job. And then it switched out to Peter Cullen. And while I knew, it was funny, I realized that it changed, but I didn't know who it was who had replaced John Bailey. And it looks like it's Peter Cullen, who has been Optimus Prime since forevers. So I don't know why they did that, or why they couldn't keep John Bailey on, or if they were just like, oh, Peter Cullen's available. Guess we're going to just dump John Bailey and replace him for some reason.
Because they actually got money, and instead of putting to things, like animation or sound mixing, they put it towards notable voice actors.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, I do feel bad for John Bailey, and I like him. He's a super cool dude. Yeah. But Peter Cullen does a better Optimus Prime. And like, I hate to say that, but like, I really like John Bailey. I really do. I follow him and everything, and I've even met the guy. But I gotta say that I don't think it was necessarily a super bad move. Yeah. John did a good job. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he did anything wrong at all. It's just that if you can get the real voice of Optimus Prime, I don't see a problem with that. Although, in all fairness, if it would have saved them money to stick with John and improve animation, that might have been the better direction to go. But still, at the same time, I'm not going to blame them for getting Peter Cullen, even though I don't think they needed him. I definitely don't think that was a like a bad move. Some people have been saying like, "Oh, that's ridiculous that they replaced John Bailey with Peter Cullen." I don't think it's a bad move. Is it the move I would have made? I don't know. Again, it's debatable what they should have spent their budget on, but
yeah.
I mean, the main thing with Peter Cullen being there is that we got some nice interviews from him about playing Optimus in Titan's Return, and him throwing some shade as to how people have been portraying Optimus Prime nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like that I don't appreciate Peter Cullen's presence here. It's just more that I felt that since Titan's Return and Combiner Wars were supposed to be, like, two parts of the same story, I felt it was really distracting to have two separate voice actors for the same character. That was the only thing that, like, bugged me. I felt like consistency would have been better.
It is fair. No, that's actually absolutely fair. I wasn't even thinking about that just because it's been so long since I watched Combiner Wars. But
yeah.
But Optimus wasn't the only character to get a voice actor change between series. Rodimus Prime for the 2 lines he had, but the whole character of Hot Rod did get a new voice actor. In all fairness,
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a new voice actor because Rodimus Prime was in Combiner Wars for 2 seconds, but he's Hot Rod in this series, which is a big thing in the fact that he just gave up the Matrix, which, why?
Yeah.
I
don't understand how that happened.
You know what's great? And there's a scene where he goes into wherever the hell he gives up the. I guess he's talking to some
primes,
he's talking to the primes or whatever. And the sound mixing in this is so bad that the score was playing like was too loud, so I could not hear what Rodimus Prime was saying. And I couldn't even hear what the primes were saying either. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you took the money that you gave to Peter Cullen and were able to save some of it by keeping John Bailey and put it all towards sound mixing, that would have helped the series a fair bit. Yeah. But the thing though is that Hot Rod is being played by Judd Nelson, who played Hot Rod originally.
And
yes, and he's getting older, and you can kind of tell that. But in all honesty, I didn't think that his voice acting was too bad. I thought that more his stuff was a little bit more awkward because of animation, and it's very possible that some of it seemed kind of tired.
Yeah,
but
that's what I was gonna say. It sounded tired for Hot Rod.
To give fairness to the situation, he was so depressed / stressed that he gave up the Matrix. So I feel like that could be slightly appropriate, whether intentional or not. But again, I don't understand that story move.
Yeah.
Just to feel like, I am Prime. This is what I've wanted my entire life. Actually, you know what? Like, here, just take the Matrix back. I don't feel
I screwed up. I trusted Starscream, I guess.
Oh, speaking of Starscream, let's talk about how he's in Trypticon for some reason as a
ghost.
Who even knows? Like,
no, this is one of those, like, if you're a Transformers fan, you'll understand the reference because Starscream.
It's also it's not the first time that Starscream has been in the body of Trypticon. Actually,
yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Because after he died in the 86 movie, he came back as a ghost in the 3rd season because, we still got a toy to sell, and he did possess Trypticon for a brief period of time.
Yes, he is an unkillable character because he has it's like a 0.01% spark or whatever, where it can't be destroyed. His body can be destroyed, but his spark can't.
Yeah, wow. But that was retconned. In the original series, he was just a ghost.
Yes.
For whatever
he was
reason.
Just a ghost, and Unicron was like, "Hey, here's the dinosaur.
Here's a dinosaur. Give me its eye so I can see." And
oh my, yeah, but I mean, all of that all of that outside of it, I was just like, okay, I guess this is what's happening right now.
There's no explanation as to why he's put into that body though, because you can very much tell from his dialogue that he's like, "What's happening? Oh, I'm getting shoved towards the city. What? And then he's Trypticon. So did the Primes do that? Was that Megatronus or what?
That would guess because Starscream does like thank the gods for like because he's stopping his pull away from Cybertron and thinks he's going back into his old body, and then he's like, gods, this is not my body. So I guess that's the explanation. Because like if this is a whole like this whole thing is all Megatronus's fault, like him like unearthing the Enigma so as the others can find it and cause a war.
I feel like if Megatronus did that, though, that he would have showed up like 30 seconds earlier and saved Trypticon, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not, but
I don't know.
Just
Maybe this series has really poor plot design.
That's probably the real reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just a theory, by the way.
Okay. I think I'm really changing tracks with this topic, but I was looking through the cast list and I need to bring this up.
Okay.
How the heck did they get Victor Caroli back as a narrator? How?
There's a narration?
Yeah, there was narration in like the first episode, and it was Victor Caroli.
I don't know.
Can I get some context on who Victor Crowley is?
He was the narrator for the original cartoon.
Oh, I see.
He was the voice. He was that narrator voice you heard in the movie. So,
I mean, I'm guessing because they had money.
Yeah, but like, I just feel bad that like this guy that's so notable for narration in Transformers, and he has to come back for this.
This is true. I actually didn't even know that he came back. That's interesting.
Yeah, like
we all know.
Yeah, like I'll pull it up. Yeah, it was for Aftermath and Rebirth. Yeah, it was the opening.
That's all they called him in for?
Yeah, that's all they called him in for.
Wow, you get that notable of a voice, you don't even use him. Good job.
Well, I don't know how notable he is outside of Transformers. Is the thing. I'm not positive about that.
It looks like he's just
he's also an older dude, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyway, other thing. Oh wait, actually, more voice actor stuff. Will Wheaton, Perceptor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really have too many problems with Perceptor's voice acting, I don't think, while I was watching it. I mean, maybe I did, but I just, like, forgot. What has Will Wheaton done outside of this?
The only other notable thing is he played, what's the dude's name? Wesley Crusher on Star Trek Next Generation.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I feel like you've told me that before, but
yeah, that's
totally
like
forgot.
literally the only thing. And then the only other thing I know he's done recently is that he went to see the new Star Wars movie while wearing a Star Trek uniform.
I mean,
Yeah,
if I was an actor on Star Trek, I would probably do the same thing too. No joke.
He's a character.
He is.
So, speaking of Perceptor, I have to mention a little rant that I have.
Oh, it's rant time?
Maybe, unless I should save it. I don't know.
I think if you brought it up, I think you can go for it.
All right. So Windblade and Perceptor are talking, right? And they're talking. I guess Perceptor's examining like this metal thing he found that relates to the Enigma, and he's like, "Look at this element, Windblade. It's weird." And he's like, "Yeah, for some reason this one atom has no decay on it. I think this means it's like really old or something." And let me tell you guys, this is not how physics works. So typically, when he said decay, I was like, so does he mean radioactive decay? Because that's what I was thinking he was talking about, because that's the only other decay I could think of. And typically that refers to, like, you know, atoms, which, fine. But the problem here is that an atom not decaying is not unusual. Like, the majority of atoms that exist are not in a state of decay, and if they are, it's like a rare isotope or something. In fact, the fact that it's part of a molecule probably means it's in a very stable form and is not decaying anyway. And to make matters even worse is that aging, like to figure out the age of things, people use what's called carbon-14 dating, which involves examining the half-life of carbon-14, which is a radioactive isotope. So the fact that it is not decaying means that it's very hard to tell what the age is because you can't measure something like half-life. So basically what I'm saying is that Perceptor is just making things up and is just like, you know, just trying to, I mean, I know he's trying to say that he thinks that this material is older than the primes, but there are other ways to mention that, like maybe being like, hey, this metal alloy, or whatever it is really odd, like, looking, and doesn't seem to be made by any conventional means, and yet seems very ancient. Maybe it's older. There's like 100 different ways to do scientific techno-babble that makes sense, that isn't, hey, let's just make up physics.
In all fairness, it's a magical item. So I think that they don't need science.
Okay.
So I feel like that was the point where they just shouldn't have tried to. But even if they did, it's like, well, does it really matter what they say? Because it's magic. So obviously just science doesn't apply to that item because it's magic and older than, like, the universe.
Right. Like,
But I think the problem is they tried to use actual science and failed miserably.
yeah.
Yep, they just shouldn't have.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
like
there are
like
other
because
ways
like
to
you
do it.
because like you said, like if they didn't say if it was the molecule that was decaying, but like the atom or something.
Like, look, the way you could have done it is just had Perceptor been like, I've never seen anything like this before, but it feels really ancient for some reason. Like, he doesn't need to give like a molecular sample of it. Like, there are other ways to talk about age outside of molecular structure and or atom decay.
Science facts with Alyssa. But yeah,
Oh my god,
I forgot that she had that rant, but that I remembered it as soon as she started about the molecule.
Yeah, as soon as I watched that episode, I paused it and then I don't know.
You called me. You specifically called me to rant.
I called SoundJack and I was like, I can't deal with this show, and I just talked about it. Yeah. Also, that one time that you would trust the Allspark,
The Matrix.
the Matrix of Leadership, to the only guy in the entire crew who does not have a vehicle as his main alt mode. And so you're just like, hey, get this outside of the city. Okay, runs. What are you doing, Perceptor?
I mean, he does turn into a tank, too.
But he didn't in the cartoon.
He didn't.
He
I know
walked.
he does. I know his toy does.
You're
but
right, actually.
but
Yeah, he
it's
doesn't,
like-
so...
It's like...
So maybe he doesn't in the cartoon. He doesn't turn into a tank because that's not part of the toy's instructions. So maybe the creators of the show didn't know that.
I'm just
Someone
like,
sounds bitter that the tank mode isn't in the instructions.
Yeah. Secret modes. And Hasbro not telling people how to properly transform their products.
it's just like... Yeah, and the fact that he does have a tank mode is just like, why not have him go into his tank mode so he's at least faster than, running? Like, what?
You want to know who else is a useless character in the show? Emissary.
Emissary?
Yeah, he powers people up, and it never seems to do enough help to really make a difference.
Yeah, and his main thing is like bonding with people's heads, and like it's stated
never does.
in the show that like he's going to have to bond with Fort Max in order to like beat Trypticon, but that never happens.
Yep.
I feel like they just, like they wrote it down in their notes, but then they just forgot to add it to the scripts of the episodes.
Here's the problem I have the most with these cartoons, is that they're designed specifically to advertise these specific toy lines with these specific gimmicks, but they don't bother to play with the gimmicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one had Headmaster, did they?
No, all the characters, sans the Combiners and the Mistress of Flame, and well, Starscream, but he was a ghost, have Titan Master partners, but we don't see any of those Titan Master partners. Perceptor's head looks exactly like his toy's Titan Master head, and that could have been a Titan Master, but no, it doesn't.
I feel like if at the bare minimum they should have at least used Cerebros and Fortress Maximus.
Yeah, like
but
have Cerebros.
you're right. I never
be
even
there.
thought about that. They don't use a single headmaster.
Yep.
In the show about a line that's of headmasters, but at least Combiner Wars did. Wait, did Combiner Wars ever show them in their individual modes? Okay, it did for Devastator.
Only for Devastator.
So at least they had that.
But they also
nothing.
completely botched about how the combiners work, and didn't explain how that happened all that well.
True.
Fans know how combiners work. The show didn't explain it.
Yeah, I was kind of lost. I didn't even really know there was a special way it happened. I was just like, oh, I guess they just combine. Cool.
So I'm kind of curious if there will even be Prime Masters in Power of the Primes.
Probably
because
not.
we already saw Megatronus, and I'm kind of doubting the other Primes doing much in the show. I think it's more or less going to be everyone fighting Megatronus.
Yeah, and we've seen the cast list for that already.
We know there's no other Primes.
Yeah, well, we know Solus is there.
Oh, we do? I forgot she was in there.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
She's in the cast list. I'm pretty sure she's the only two. The only other notable new characters were Predaking and the Dinobots.
Yep, I noticed the Dinobots.
Yeah, so.
I find it interesting that Solus is in there. It's definitely the one I would put in, but I did not realize that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. There may be someone else, and I could forget because they aren't being voiced by a big name, like Samoa Joe or Mikey Way or Mark Hamill. But anyway, enough about Power of the Primes.
I guess to go back to positives, I think we can all agree that Megatron still continues to be the best part of the show.
Yeah.
For sure. And you know what? It's awesome that it looks like he's going to be one leading Power of the Primes. But again, not to get into Power of the Primes, but at least it is set up that we are getting more of Megatron, who has been the highlight of both Combiner Wars and this show.
He just has so much, he just doesn't put up with things, and I'm just really happy.
He doesn't care. He's kind of like the viewer, this is crap. Yeah. What are you talking about?
He almost had a character arc in this show with his whole questioning his religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the only guy who was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. He seemed to be the most compelling person, but then...
They kind of just didn't show anything for a while.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, I think the only notable thing he did plot-wise was just fight the combiners.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome. Pathetic on the combiners part, but awesome. Also, does Victorion... So is one of the members of Victorion just dead now since the arm is missing?
Well, only half the arm is missing, so...
That half is half of... You can't live with half a body. Ask Jazz from movie 1.
But the Spark's fine. The Spark should be fine.
That's not always how it works. Do you know why Alpha Bravo got put into IDW? Slingshot was falling apart, but his Spark was okay. That doesn't always mean they could fix him. But is Victorion just gonna grow her arm back, or is she gonna be armless?
She's gonna
I don't know.
Was there a point to that? Is what I'm actually trying to get at.
Set up Megatronus as a threat?
I mean, I feel like killing Optimus Prime did a pretty decent job at that.
I mean,
that's fair.
They dragged that out for too long.
Yes. Was it just me, or did he literally get shot for 30 seconds?
I kind of want to go back to the episode just to count how long it took.
Because it was really long.
It was really long, but the blast was
slightly surprised.
But this blast was still going. Optimus was just there, kind of spasming a bit in the middle of the air with the beam going through his chest, and I'm like, I don't think that's how that would work.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I actually was slightly surprised that they did that, but I mean, it didn't have any emotional. I wasn't like, oh no, Prime's dead. Nope. So sad. What are they gonna do? It was just oh, they did that.
Oh, yeah.
That also has to do with the fact that Optimus Prime has died a lot of times now.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, time to check off this series as a series that Prime has died in.
Wait, what did you say?
Well, time to check this series off as a series Prime has died in.
Are there any that you can count off that he hasn't animated? Right?
No, he died at the end of the 3-part opener in anime.
Oh yeah, you're right.
90
You're right.
seconds.
You're right. I totally forgot that.
I mean, he died in the Unicron trilogy, but only in Armada. So
That is true.
and he never died in Robots in Disguise.
Oh yeah.
The
So
tw-
less than
2001
half he doesn't die in.
Yeah. Also, Shattered Glass he never died in, but he's not supposed to die.
I was gonna say I don't think that necessarily.
Yeah, because Megatron should be the one to die in that universe.
Yeah.
But we're off topic.
Basically, Optimus Prime and Death are pretty close. They're like friends.
They're like Megatron. They're like Starscream trying to overthrow Megatron and Starscream failing.
Also, fun fact. So before, while I was in the middle of watching this series, Michael mentioned to me that Mark Hamill was in it, and I was like, "Oh, really?" And he was like, "Yeah, one of the main villains, or one of the villains that's towards the end is there." I'm like, "Okay." So fast forward to when I'm actually watching the episode, and Megatronus arrives, and even though I was aware that Mark Hamill was in this, I somehow did not recognize him there. Like, I was just like, oh, who's this guy? So I don't know whether or not he was playing like a different kind of voice, or whether or not I just wasn't paying attention, but for some reason I just couldn't recognize him, which, I mean, props to Mark Hamill for not going for the straight Joker route, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, like I said, maybe I'm just not used to his voice or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I will completely agree. I didn't know it was Mark Hamill going into it, but even then, I remember. I think I watched it again. I'm like, that's supposed to be Mark Hamill?
What did you feel about that performance, Eric? Did you think that Mark Hamill still sounded pretty distinct, or?
I totally recognized it was Mark Hamill right off the bat, and I honestly didn't think it was awful. I mean, it's pretty different from any Fallen voice we've gotten before.
Yeah.
I am curious to see how it turns out in the next show, because we'll probably be getting a decent amount more him. There isn't a whole lot to base off right now.
Yeah.
But I'll say that right now that I didn't hate it. I totally noticed it was Mark Hamill, and I was like, that's neat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a bad performance by him. I just don't think it was particularly good. Like, it was.
I think it was weird.
It was a performance, nothing more, nothing less. It's not. Well, granted, granted, for Mark Hamill, this may be his quote unquote worst performance, but if he doesn't have anything that's like really terrible, worse than this, but like you get what I'm trying to say. This was a Mark Hamill performance. It was good. It wasn't like, oh my god, Mark Hamill is ruined for me now or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I just feel bad that he's in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Hamill deserves better.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think we can all agree on that one. Speaking of other voice actors, Matt Pat from Game Theory is in this for whatever reason. He plays Computron. And so this might not matter to too many other people, but I've watched enough of Game Theory videos on YouTube to know and to be able to recognize Matt Pat's voice as soon as I hear it. And while his voice is sort of modulated a little bit, like, you can still tell it's him. And for me, I just found him so distracting. Every time he came on screen, I just expected Computron to start talking about how I needed to rethink everything that I thought I knew about the Transformers universe. And just, like I said, probably it's just me, because I've watched, a fair number of his videos, so his voice, again, I know it well, so when he showed up, I was like, why is he here? Also, I don't really think that he was well casted. I think Matt Pat's voice is better suited to a more expressive role, if that makes sense. His voice isn't very good for, like, a flat, computerized character, if that makes any sense.
I actually didn't mind. I'm not super. I know who he is, but I didn't realize that was him. So not having that context, I think he was totally fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you know him, that's totally different, where it's distracting. But in all fairness, I think it's within an actor's wishes sometimes to play a part that's different from what they are typically known for or do. Like, they want to change up their acting. They want to prove that they can do more. I don't know if that was his goal or not, but I know certain actors that are, like typecasted where they always play a role that's similar, or like people expect something from them. They want to play something different to show off the fact that, hey, I'm a skilled actor. I can do other things. Like, I can actually act, not just be one thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to bring that up, though, because he is popular enough that it is reasonable to consider, will this be distracting? But from a non-biased perspective, I do think that it's fair to at least afford an actor an opportunity if he wants to. It's possible that he didn't even know what the role was going to be like before he got it, too. So
I mean, to like typecast him, I think he did get typecast into being like the smarty, brainy guy that knows everything.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's who Computron is.
Well, like you see Matt Pat as like this game theorist, and like seems like he has a database of knowledge. That's like the connection I get, and I'm using air quotes. You can't see it, but I'm like using air quotes for all of this.
Yeah, like, and I totally recognize that. I probably, if I didn't really know who he was, or I was just watching this, and maybe I didn't. Yeah, assuming that I had never heard of game theory and never watched any of the videos, I'm sure I wouldn't have found him as distracting as I did. But it was just, I don't know. It was a problem that I had when I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I will readily admit it was probably a very like individual me scenario. I would maybe understand it if other people who watched his videos like probably might have the same problem, or maybe they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Computron did get recast to Matt Pat between the series.
Yes, that's probably also what threw me off too. I think maybe if he had been in there from the beginning, I would have been like, oh, hi, and then just kind of got over it. But it was a real what?
Yeah, even though scenario. Computron had like 2 lines at the beginning of the show before he got killed and then reborn.
Yeah, I was gonna say he died very, very early. He did not do much in Combined Wars other than be dead.
Yeah.
Though another voice cast, I don't think this is actually notable besides the fact that it happened, is Metroplex got recast into Nolan North.
Metroplex talked in Combined Wars?
Yeah, he did mind talking to Windblade.
Oh, with Windblade when he was a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nolan North,
I mean,
he does good work.
He did good. I don't he didn't talk a whole lot, but I think it was respectable. Nothing too surprising. He is a Transformers veteran. That's all I can say. That he got dragged into this as well. But maybe we should move on from voice actors, because I think we've talked enough about the voice actors that we should actually talk about animation and more of the plot. We've touched on some of the plot, but not a lot.
As far as animation is concerned, it still looks like garbage. Okay, less garbagey, but I still feel like the models just have weird movements sometimes, especially when characters are dying or in pain. It always feels like they're just spazzing out. And I mean, granted, when you're in pain, sometimes you do that, but other times, if you're getting an injury, just stabbed or something, it's more like you freeze. So it's why is everyone flinching around all the time? Also, what was up with Mistress of Flame just floating? Why was she just airborne?
Yeah.
There weren't any jet thrusters or anything, so can she just fly? Is that what's
she
going on?
She is somewhat of a, I don't want to say magical character, because she's not, but she's a super religious nut, so maybe you could chalk it up to that, but I don't know.
None of this was explained beforehand. It just came out of the woodwork.
I just thought that she was a priestess, which is, fine, but then I'm oh, okay, so I guess she just can fly. Awesome for her, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
her death scene with Overlord was the worst example of the animation and the issues you're talking about, at least for me, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that scene totally shows. I think that can basically capture the essence of what's wrong with the animation.
Yeah.
Oh, just the entire scene. I also would like to point out that Overlord did not flinch or move or anything during that scene.
Oh, because no, he didn't need to flinch. He's so powerful and imposing that nothing can hurt him.
Yeah, he just was
There's a difference between nothing hurting you and not moving at all, though.
I
One
concur.
looks unnatural, but still, like, you would still get the effect if he, like, moved back a little bit, but he's, like, super powerful. Like, if he moved back a little bit, but he's like, that didn't even hurt, like, laughed it off, like, that's fine. But not moving at all, it just looks weird and unnatural.
It's just like he just absorbs the energy that anything that Mr. Supreme puts at him, which just
Not
okay.
Not how
it doesn't make for very good fight sequences. Let's just put it that way.
I also, bringing up just the animation in general, I do want to bring up something that I heard from a YouTuber by the name of Diamond Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
They did Ruined Forever. They have a Ruined Forever series, and the Times Return cartoon was in that. And one of the things he talked about was how poor the animation was. But one thing he noted was that stills of it look great.
Oh,
it's the rendering that's the problem, and like he edited there was a moment like he edited like footage to like have a clearer rendering or whatever, and it actually looked good. Like there still would be a lot of problems, but that would have increased the quality of the animation threefold at the very least.
Like just like increase the frame rate and stuff like that.
It's just the frame rates increase, and like it was like an image of like Triptychon standing up, and like it's so slow and like
stuttery,
like it's playing on a PlayStation or whatever, and then like he modified it to like look like it could like run like any cartoon today, and like that looked decent, that looked good.
Yeah, I think the thing with, and I said this before when we were talking about Combiner Wars, I thought that the models themselves were fine. Like I have no problem with them. I think they work. I think they look like the characters. I think they have good details, like the fact that Megatron has a scar and Optimus Prime has cracked windshields. You know, like the models themselves look fine. It's just the animation is what sucks. And the actual movement of the characters is what also sucks. Also, the sound design. The one thing that I don't understand about so I understand that like, when, you know, the Transformers, when they move, they have, like, the sort of generic, like, sound when they move. But for some reason, I just feel like they make, like, their movements don't make any impact. Like, I don't feel the weight of them, if that makes sense.
I feel like the only scene where that actually made sense was when the Combiners were all smacking on Triptychon. Like, in that scenario, that totally makes sense. Every other single scenario in the show, that does not. You're right. Like, that is a problem. I think that there's, like, just literally that one scene. That makes sense, that there's, like, no impact, nothing happening. Like, it's Combiners, but they're fighting a Titan. Like, of course, he's not going to move in the slightest. There's literally going to be no impact.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, they do that for everyone and everything throughout this series. So you are absolutely right on that.
Yeah, it just feels like a bunch of air, like, hitting each other.
Yeah.
Also, Triptychon... I mean, granted, I don't. It's been a while, so maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't really feel like they communicated his size very well. And the fact that like I didn't really feel like he was like really stomping. I mean, I think the sound effect did, but I don't know if I really felt it. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, that could have been helped by the fact, you know, if like the buildings he stepped on like left rubble.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I'm pretty sure until I think they only started showing rubble after the fight started. Yeah. Like once the fight started between Fort Max and / Metroplex and Triptychon, that's when they started actually showing the destruction. But until then, he was just walking down the city lane, thoroughfare or whatever. Yeah. No buildings destroyed at all for some reason.
Like, we even see him stomp on a building, and it looks like how his foot moves, like it looks like it would kick off like the top floor or two, and then he would crush it and there'd be dust and debris, but literally he just steps on it and like springs down. Like it just compresses. And it's like, what?
I guess Cybertron is made out of rubber.
Also, can I comment very briefly that like one thing that weirds me out with this whole series, like there's so many rocks on Cybertron when it's supposed to be a metal planet.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I feel like something you could say is that maybe it's still trashy because this is very much post-war, but
But
It's a little too rocky even for that. Like, that's not just like rubble and like destruction. Like, there's just a bunch of rocks everywhere.
like that's like the main part of the planet is like the rocks. Like even when I'm pretty sure even like when Optimus is driving, like there's just the highway, like it's a paved road, and then just like a craggy, rocky terrain all around him with no metal in sight. And it's like, are you sure this is a planet made out of metal, guys? My dudes?
Maybe rocks are easier to animate? Although I feel like that's probably not the case.
Yeah.
Also, if this is on Cybertron, then what was up with that ice ocean?
I mean, there's poles.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair, but the rocks just being everywhere is a little weird.
Okay.
Like,
although, now that you pointed out, the ice still is a little weird.
I think, IDW has had issues where they've gone to the poles and it has been like snow covered and ice covered. I think even Trypticon in that series was frozen under a plane of ice.
I mean, if the lore of in the Cybertron includes poles having like ice caps, that's fine.
Though
the thing, those
also,
oceans.
Though, yeah, the other thing is that in the Marvel comics, at the very least, Cybertron doesn't have water.
Which makes sense. It's
because
robot planet.
Yeah, I remember that specifically because in the original Marvel comics, the water was like the way to get rid of scraplets, and they didn't have that. So Cybertron was just like, "Oh, you got scraplets? Well, you're dead." Basically, it seemed like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Cybertron's supposed to be a total metal planet and the water doesn't. Like, it doesn't... I guess what I'm trying to say is that the ice poles / water landscape doesn't really lend itself to metal planet very well. I feel like if they added some sort of, like, something, like, on the ice or, like, a continent or something that had metal as its, like, main landscape, then I think I might have bought it a little more, but...
Also,
struggling.
While we're over there... Can we talk about the scene where Fort Max just fires all of his cannons straight upward, and then every single laser has to take a 90-degree turn?
Oh!
Yeah.
What was that about?
I mean, if they weren't lasers and it was like, oh, he shoots them up and then they go down, like, like almost mortar style, like, yeah, maybe, but they were lasers.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
But they called them missiles every single time.
Maybe they were really, really fast missiles, and you just couldn't see the missile part.
They moved at the speed of light. Good lord.
Yeah. That's dangerous. What else? I'm positive there's something else there. Oh, one good thing in terms of, like, animation I liked... Mm-hmm. That, like, this moment shocked me. Like, oh wow, that looks pretty. Was the moment when Overlord was sticking the dark purple glowy thing into Hot Rod, and then we have the scene where, like, they're kind of like silhouetted in the purple light, and that looked really good.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah,
I thought it was very much like a shoehorned in setup, kind of, because Overlord made it look like he was looking for Megatron. But then he was like, oh, Hot Rod, I've been looking for you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a bit like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
and then the main thing that bummed me out was that they did that so early and then just didn't touch it until the end. I get because it was a setup for Power of the Primes, but I don't know. But I feel like doing it so early is what made me like, oh, I'm actually slightly interested in that. Just kidding. You're not going to get that till the next series, even though we did it pretty early in this one.
Even though Overlord is in this toy line.
You don't get anything important from him until the next. Watch him not even show up. Like, he literally was just there to introduce Rodimus Kron, and then he's going to leave. Like,
we just see Rodimus Kron just bring over Overlord's head and say, like, he gave me this power. I returned him the favor, and now I'm going to take care of you, or something.
Also, can we talk about how Optimus Prime was such a downer in this entire series?
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, obviously sometimes, it's a different universe, or sometimes different cartoons. So sometimes the continuity is different, and Megatron doesn't always have to be an optimistic leader, but like that's kind of his deal, right? Like that he's an optimistic leader, or at least he's not. He takes charge. Literally, the first thing he does in this cartoon is get out of Dodge. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, I did think that was kind of funny how he was just like, they're like, hey, want to help us clean up? And he's like, no.
And then
leaves.
And then he drives away, does
and
like a
honks his horn at her, which I feel
turnaround.
like is like cussing to Transformers, but like kind of like, hey, screw you. Like,
I don't know. It was a
And
bit
then he
weird.
stops, honks, and then goes the actual right way.
I know.
Oh yeah, I remember when that happened. I was like, wow, are you just trying to show off your maneuvering skills there, Prime? Or are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
That was the only part that I thought was a bit out for him, because later, he is a bit of a downer. I feel like he is more of a downer in Combiner Wars than this one, because later he is leading everyone in the final battle and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like him being a downer is kind of in character for this, because this is specifically supposed to be set like long after the war, and
That's
he's
fair.
supposed to be basically irrelevant.
Right.
Like this.
this is supposed to be long after Prime and Megatron are done with their stuff, and Prime is kind of like the one who's like, oh man, I guess it's for the greater good, but like I'm pretty much forgotten. Like this kind of sucks, but greater good. And Megatron's just like, well, I'm sassy now because I don't give a crap because I'm not relevant.
Yeah.
I think Megatron is really embracing his I'm not leading a army
Yeah.
anymore.
He's like, I don't have to do crap anymore. It doesn't matter.
I am retired and I'm going to enjoy my life the way I want to.
I feel like that's a really good description. Titan Returning Combiner Wars Megatron. I'm retired and I don't give a crap.
Okay.
Like,
Okay, but that just reminded me of a thing, and I want to ask you both this question if you think this will pay off. So remember how Megatron got convinced by Windblade to help them fight Trypticon, and Megatron says, "You owe me"?
I think so.
You-
I think that's going to come up later.
You think they're actually going to remember that plot point?
I don't know. I feel like that was made so specific that I hope so, but
Like, I hope so too. I don't necessarily trust the writers to remember they did that. After, after building up Emissary as needing to combine with Fortress Maximus to stop Trypticon, and they don't do it, I don't have the faith. I don't necessarily have faith to say, like, this will definitely pay off in Power of the Primes.
I hope they do. Like that.
Yeah, I
seems like
certainly
a
hope
pretty,
so because I think that'd make it a lot more interesting too.
Yeah.
Like have like Windblade do something for Megatron.
Instead of have that dangling thread there,
Mm-hmm.
which is all over the place in this show.
Oh my god. Yeah, I just love. Yeah, I just think Megatron is a real joy in this whole mess of what we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Goodness. Oh, can we also talk about how they actually stopped Trypticon?
Remind me how that happened.
he ate the Matrix.
Yeah,
He ate Perceptor.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You have
What was
Perceptor
Trypticon
running
after?
out. He goes, wait a second. I think I need to do something. Runs all the way back and like just gives Trypticon the Matrix.
and Trypticon vomits everything up from the worst case of indigestion he's ever had because Trypticon wasn't worthy to hold the Matrix.
Oh, I also thought it was interesting. I'm pretty sure the last title was a poop-based pun because he ate all that. He ate the Matrix and Perceptor in the episode beforehand, and then literally the title was "All Things Must Pass," and then they are
He just
relieved.
needs some, really good laxatives.
Yeah. The Matrix. Matrix of Leadership, the best laxative on this side of Cybertron.
Although I guess he vomited it up, so that'd be more like something that would induce vomiting
Right.
rather than a laxative.
Fair.
But you get the drift. Yeah, that was a really weird way to defeat Trypticon.
Fort
Like,
Max basically did nothing.
and it was so stupid because you were like, oh, where they're building up Fort Max is like their only hope, and I get the idea that like in like plot writing 101, you know, when you're gonna have a big battle, there are two scenarios that happen. Either A, you don't tell the audience what the plan is and watch them go through with it, or B, you tell the audience what the plan is, but then have that plan fail. Because if you tell the audience how it happens and it goes exactly according to the plan, then that's boring storytelling. Or at least that's the theory. Because then there's no reason for the audience to keep watching.
Yeah. If
everything goes according to plan, and when you know what's going to happen. If everything goes according to plan, then you can't tell the audience the exact ramifications of it. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up is just because, like, I get from, like, a plot perspective that, like, if you build up for Max is the only way that the Matrix can... Or the only way Trypticon...
It wasn't the Matrix, yeah, it was just that they can beat Trypticon.
Is it only to beat Trypticon, and you want to follow that rule of, well, since the audience knows this thing, it has to fail? I get that from that perspective, but at the same time, you can have Fort Max win as long as he doesn't, like... do it swiftly.
Well, I think the whole thing was that Metroplex was supposed to fight him in the beginning, and they were hoping that Metroplex would stop him, but then Metroplex already failed, and then they were already failing trying to get Formax online, so I feel like that was already failure enough.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I think the whole Matrix thing, the reason that happened is because they needed to set up Power of the Primes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, too.
Yeah. And, like, this is the whole thing Optimus is trying to avoid, of keeping the Matrix and the Enigma apart, so it wouldn't summon Megatronus, but that somehow summoned Megatronus.
It just totally doesn't make any sense. I just don't know.
No.
Also, I feel like Megatronus showing up, I mean, I know that's supposed to set up Power of the Primes, but it almost feels like a really botched, like, surprise villain reveal thing. You're just like, I was the bad guy the whole time, and I was like, I don't even know who you are. like how am I supposed to be, like, taken in by this? I don't understand.
I know. I mean, I didn't expect it, but it wasn't the grand reveal. Also, I just don't love his design either. I don't
what does he
hate
look like
it, but
again?
I don't really care for it that much.
Let's see if the wiki has the image.
Like, literally ever. I think he's probably my least favorite version of the Fallen.
There it
like,
is.
ever.
Oh.
It's relatively an amalgam combination of, like, his other designs to the most part. Like,
is it though?
To an extent, like, the colors and the flames are from his original War Within incarnation. He's got his body design, especially with the fusion cannons, with the cannons on each arm, is fairly reminiscent of his RID design.
His head sucks.
His head is, I guess, a very distant kind of thing to the movie, because Egypt...
it's not, because I actually am okay with the movie design, and that is not... I get that that's maybe what they were trying to go for,
but they failed miserably. I wouldn't say that really counts as...
The closest with that one is, like, the whole, head is kind of Egyptian-y. Because
I just don't care for it at all, and it kind of bums me out that that's what we're going to be getting as the main villain in the whole entire next series. But
also, can we talk about how Megatron does not resemble his toy, counterpart at all?
Well...
he kind of does.
I mean, he does, but...
Not the Titans Return one.
No, the Combiner Wars one.
Oh, you remember he's supposed to be after the Combiner Wars one? Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense to me, because I was looking at him, I was like, this doesn't look like...
No, yeah, he's based off the Combiner Wars toy, not the Titans Return.
Based off, he has a lot more just straight up Gen 1 design, though, transformation, and his alt mode is straight up his Combiner Wars toy.
Yeah, I'd say his head is very Combiner Wars too.
Yeah,
but
okay.
He has nods to it, but either way, it's much closer to that one than Titans Return.
Yeah, though, again, a lot of his broader details, like the cannon on the back, is a lot more similar to...
Which is okay.
The G1.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
And then
because in all fairness, Prime isn't based on really any toy. He's just Prime.
Yeah.
So Megatron has loose ties to the Combiner Wars toy, but he's still very just Gen 1 Megatron, which, I think is okay.
Yeah, Optimus has got nothing to him. At best, he's probably based off the Masterpiece.
Yeah, which in all fairness is just pure G1, so basically.
Yeah. With a thick truck bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, in terms of actual designs, I do want to bring up an interesting one. Hot Rods.
What does he look like? Can you show a picture?
Yeah.
I mean, I know what Hot Rod looks like.
Yeah. But he got the new body, but it doesn't look like the toy that much.
That's okay, because don't get me wrong, I love Titans Return Hot Rod. It's a very good toy, but it doesn't look super hot roddy.
I understand that.
With the shoulders and the spoiler.
No,
so it almost looked to me like it was kind of based off the Masterpiece, which is, based off of G1, so basically they were going for that. I think the important thing that they nail is Rodimus Prime, though.
Yeah.
And I think that they will. Was the vehicle mode based off the Titans Return or not?
Like, it looks a lot closer to the Titans Return toy line, but even in broader details, it didn't. Because, especially with, like, the front half of the car design, like, the placement of what is it? What's it in the car? It's not a cockpit.
You mean like the driver's seat?
Yeah, the driver's seat is, like, a lot further back in the car, and then, like, the front of the hot rod toy kind of, like, is just, like, a very small engine, while this one kind of looked like more like a.
It's like the hood was larger?
like in terms of, like, proportions for, like, the hood and the driver's seat, the toy's a bit more along the lines of a Lamborghini type of car, while the cartoon one felt to me a bit more proportional to, like, a Camaro.
I don't know enough about cars to really picture that well in my head, but I'll take your word for it.
I'll try to see if I can get images for you, Alyssa, to have you edit it here to see.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it, I was definitely looking at it, and I'm like, this is... I see the similar strokes, but it's not 100% exact.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Hot Rod having a faceplate? Question mark?
What do you mean him not having one? I actually like that.
I do like it. I'm just like, why? If this
because it looks cooler, and I'm honestly okay with that. I like it whenever they give Transformers battle masks. That's something that's actually been more of a recent trope, where they've been giving almost everyone, especially like in Robots in Disguise, like all of Team B has them. They just don't always use them, but I actually like that a lot. I think that makes a lot more sense than a few characters having their face be able to turn into a mask. Not like they wear a helmet, but like their face is able to turn into a battle mask. I think it makes sense that all of them could, and so I think the visor counts, and I mean not the visor, the faceplate counts, and I like that.
Yeah.
I just wish that other characters would do it too, so it didn't stand out. But and I also think it makes sense since he's a Prime character that he would definitely have that / be able to, whether he wants to or not. That's a him thing, but.
But yeah, and again, I don't mind that decision, and I do like the look. It's again a thing that confuses me about, like, the lack of Titan Masters, or how Emissary was not relevant to the final battle. It's not promoting the toy line. It's not what the toy line has, and it's just a new thing for the cartoon itself that isn't replicated in the toy line in any way, shape, or form. That's the thing that confuses me about basically Titans Return as a whole.
I mean, I think that as a concept is okay, because that makes it not a toy commercial, which, is kind of a good thing. Not that they has to be, but like, I don't think it's a terrible thing. Now, some of the changes in here are just weird, but that's one that I like, that I honestly wish that...
Like, I understand the cartoons not being a toy commercial, obviously. I do like that. And obviously, the freedom to tell their own stories outside what the toy line has. But especially since these shows are so short, at the very least, they could portray the toy line better. Though again, I will also say I think my complaint about mask thing is I'm also a sucker for toy and show accuracy.
Yeah, but I feel like that's more on. I don't know. I don't know if that's a. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to say that's a valid complaint or not. I think that's more of a personal preference, but
yeah.
In all honesty, if they aren't trying to be a toy commercial, then I don't know if I really blame them, but I don't know.
I think it would probably be a more valid complaint if we knew on the outset that this cartoon was trying to promote the toy line, you know?
Yeah, I feel like since it came out at the very end, like when it's over, that doesn't.
That's fair. I mean, this may be just how I've interpreted it, and I'm interpreting it wrong, but how it felt like they've been trying to present it is a bit of a toy commercial for this toy line, rather than a cartoon in conjunction that, like, is in conjunction with the toy line.
Well, I will tell you that Hasbro specifically says that they never want to do media that is just to promote a toy line. That they say, again, this is what they say, not necessarily how they do it now, but because I did tour Hasbro at HasCon and stuff, they specifically say that it's media first, then toy line. Mm-hmm. And I think that this honestly was like, Combiner Wars was obviously an afterthought after the toy line was coming out, that they thought of it later, and so that's why it started happening later, and it honestly didn't happen until it was over.
Yeah.
And so I think since that started late, that gave Titans Return. It couldn't start fast enough. So I feel like it's okay that it's not trying to be a toy commercial. I mean, I understand that whenever you have something like, you know, you have the toy, you want it to look just like how you see it on screen so you can reenact stuff, but in all fairness, I don't know if this is a show where you really want to reenact a whole lot of stuff, but I understand that bothering you. I don't know if that's necessarily a valid complaint against the show, though.
No,
and I won't say that it necessarily isn't. I just am honestly, I'm not entirely sure about it.
No, completely understandable. It's not. Yeah, with every other complaint I can have with the show, this is just like, that's just a personal preference, because there's enough to complain about with the show anyway.
Although, you know, positive, even though I didn't particularly, I don't think it made sense to go to the ice parts made sense, like as far as like Cybertron goes. I do like that they changed up the black
scenery.
Yeah, thank goodness. It was great to have bright colors.
Yeah, not gray.
And not just gray again. My favorite. Like it was really nice to see like bright like blues and like whites and all that good stuff.
You know what was also really great? Fortress Maximus's transformation being completely off screen.
I mean, in all fairness, his transformation is standing up, so I feel like that's the one that I'm okay with just not really seeing. Fair. I mean, I don't know. That toy wasn't the greatest Fortress Maximus toy. It's my least favorite Titan class toy. Mm-hmm. And so in all honesty, it just doesn't have much of a... It really doesn't have much of a transformation. I don't find it to be that amazing of a toy, just compared to other things at its price point, etc., like stuff like that.
Oh, especially compared to Triple
But like literally, its transformation is just that he lays out his arms and legs. Like it is nothing that special, and so I feel like the transformation would have kind of looked weird either way. Plus, another reason that probably wouldn't have worked is because they didn't have Cerebros.
That's also true.
So that's a big problem with him transforming.
Yeah. Or they could have just cut it and just have the head come out of the body.
Just poof into existence.
That's true.
Like it's just a lower shot, and then like you don't even need to see the panels, and the head just kind of rises out of the body. If they didn't want to go the whole Cerebros route, because honestly, if they transform, like if it transformed like with just the head being a solid part of the body, I'm certain there's enough of a cavity in that chest that it would work.
Yeah, although in all fairness, I think that the real reason, I say in all fairness, this isn't really to be fair to the show. Well, I mean, it's just a thing to point out. The reason they didn't have Transformers is because they didn't have them rendered in alt mode.
that was totally just artwork. Like that was a backdrop.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah, they did not have a render for his base mode for sure. There was definitely not a point where there was a model that you could tell like, hey, there's a model of his base mode.
That's
like
very true. Like
it was anytime that it was zoomed out, like it's totally just like a backdrop. So that's the real reason. I'm not saying that it's a valid reason not to include it. I'm just saying that is the reason why is they didn't even bother to model his base mode.
Okay.
Although in all honesty, they didn't show Trypticons either, and that's one that I feel like
no, we did see Trypticon's base mode.
No, we didn't see him transform.
Oh yes,
there was a giant cloud around it.
Yeah, we saw like the arms move.
No. Okay, seeing arms move and then being entirely covered in a cloud of dust does not count.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree.
Using those clever disguising techniques there.
Like with Fortress Maximus, I didn't find it too noticeable. Like, wow, they really left out his transformation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I obviously knew, but I didn't think it was like a blatant, like, wow, they really tried to hide that.
Yeah.
Whereas Trypticon, like, that was pretty darn obvious. It was like, hey, look, he's transforming. Just kidding. Here's a purple cloud.
Yeah. No, yeah.
It costs a lot less. Just look at this purple cloud.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest reason I would have a problem with Fort Max because like it's supposed to be this like amazing thing, like our savior has just come, and like instead like even just like the last few steps of the transformation of like the arm swinging around or like
see maybe that was just foreshadowing that he isn't the savior they were coming for.
That's true.
Look, see this series is actually incredibly smart and we're just misunderstanding it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Sure.
It's just so deep that we don't understand. Okay, I'm done.
I like how you can't even like finish that sentence. You're just like, it's so ridiculous. I can't even comprehend the idea of this series being deeper than we think it is.
I do have to say overall that as much as we're giving it crap, I think it was a step up from Combiner Wars. Not necessarily a big enough step to be like, hey, this is a good sign, but there was at least some improvement, so I think that is giving a little hope that maybe Power of the Primes will be even a little better, and that maybe, just maybe, it will be okay.
Hopefully. I say
Isn't that sad that, like, our highest expectations for it, which are probably somewhat unrealistic, are that a show will be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to deal with that with the movies every time they've come out with a new one. So
see, but those actually make money and have a purpose and reach people.
Well, they're starting to falter at this point.
What?
They are starting to falter. At least The Last Night did.
Well, okay, in comparison to their other movies, but still, that movie makes more money than any of us will all make combined in our entire lives, no matter what career choices we make.
Unless we become a super famous actor like Mark Hamill or Patrick Stewart or something.
That is true.
It's possible. It's very, 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 very unlikely, but it's not necessarily impossible.
I still don't know if you'd make as much money as the Transformers movies have made. I mean, maybe eventually, but like they're usually around like $1 billion, right?
Oh, that's true.
Not
the newest,
they rake in like $1 billion, especially if you count. I think the one thing to keep in mind is that the Transformers movies, in my opinion at least, are only being kept alive because of their total revenue, as opposed to just their domestic revenue. Because I don't think
that is 100% why.
Yeah,
they don't do too well domestically. Which
not anymore. They did. They really did before, but now, no, not as much. But again, we are actually seeing improvements with that, though, because we have a movie this year coming out that isn't Michael Bay, which, again, I like the Michael Bay movies for what they are, so, like, that's a different thing. I'm not saying they're good. There's a big difference between saying I like something for what it is versus I think it's good. Two very different statements, but
I mean,
I do think it's good that they are trying to actually get good. You know, they're changing up their style, things like that.
Yeah.
So far, I would say that they're attempting to course correct with this, but I don't know if it's as radical of a change as like, hey, let's change exactly who's doing this and the entire time era and everything. Like, so I mean, hopefully it improves. But
I mean, certainly, the movies aren't at the nail in the coffin of the whole cinema franchise that the DC universe is.
Yeah. I guess for context,
true.
there actually recently one of Potter actually linked to me a article about how the DC universe is basically shut down, at least functionally shut down at this point. They're still making the movies that they've said they're going to make, but instead of considering them as one large universe, they're more considering them as standalone films, which honestly I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think
they needed to do that first, and then but leave room for them to be able to connect it, but then connect them. Like do a Marvel thing where you have individual movies, then you have Avengers, then you have like individual movies again, then you have but they went like Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, which is pretty much half the Justice League, then Justice League. Now let's get some individual people.
They basically tried to skip straight from starting up their universe to going to Infinity War.
Yeah.
Not the Avengers movie, Infinity War.
Because, patience doesn't mean anything.
No. But back to the Transformers.
Yeah.
And Titans Return itself, I guess.
So, I don't know. Do we have anything else to say about this topic?
I don't think...
No, I think that was pretty much my final thoughts was not good, but a step in the right direction, slightly.
Yeah.
So let's hope there's more.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the biggest improvement was the writing, especially with them having more time, that the pacing was better and that they had different writers that were better. Still don't think it was good, but that was probably the biggest improvement I saw between Combiner Wars and Titans Return.
Yeah. As someone who, I don't know, I guess I'm a little more critical of things than most people are. I would say I agree to you to some extent, but I don't know. I probably would have to, look at the screenplays and, combine them and, look at them side by side to really know, but...
I kind of side with you on that. I don't know if I would say that, I disagree with you, but I don't know if I would agree with you either. I think I have to look at it again to make sure.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that improved for me was just there were some actual shots I liked. There were more things that I found, moments that I was just I kind of like that. Yeah. Or, characters. So I was I kind of like that. And especially the episode length. But again, that doesn't matter if you just watch it all once it comes out. But if you are one of the people that is watching it week by week as it comes out, since, it is a show, then I think that was actually something that really helped it, especially there. I mean, it might be somewhat visible during watching all of it at once, but it's very noticeable whenever doing that.
Do we know what the episode lengths are going to be for Power of the Primes? Or how many there are even going to be?
Not yet.
Okay, because I know we did have that full list of voice actors, but I didn't think we had anything of that sort for the next cartoon. Yeah, the wiki doesn't have anything of note. Oh, but it does say it is probably going to air a lot sooner than the other ones, saying it's supposed to air in the second quarter of 2018.
No.
Yeah, it's supposed to air soon. I don't know anything about episode lengths yet, though, or any of that. We just know the voice cast, I believe, is it.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, probably the entire voice cast, unless they're going to bring Optimus Prime back at the end of the series.
Optimus Primal, not Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
At first I was like, why did they change his voice again? And why was it changed to Ron Perlman? I don't understand.
Yeah.
No, it's Optimus Primal, which I feel like is a big reason that...
Prime is gone?
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a bit... No, not even... I mean, maybe that's the reason Prime's gone, but I feel like that's a big reason they're not bringing Prime back.
Okay.
Is because they'll have Primal. Also, it will be a bit weird to have Primal and no one else from Beast Wars.
Yeah.
You gotta do it for the toys, I guess.
Well, I mean, we'll have the Combiner. Well, we'll have Dinobots, I guess.
Those do not count. Those are G1 characters.
I know they're G1 characters, but
I didn't say Beast characters. I said Beast Wars characters.
That's fair. But it's something.
No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it will be weird to see that. Like, how is he going to interact with them? Like, hey, guys that have nothing to do with me, really. But, hey, what's up?
It looks like MatPat's also playing one of the Dinobots. So
Yeah.
maybe he won't be as distracting in that role as he was in as Computron, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'll still be bugged by it.
Yeah, he'll be voicing Swoop in this.
Huh.
Yeah. Though we did get Greg Berger back for Grimlock.
Yes, which is that's always a plus.
Well, we still got good voice cast people, so let's see if the voice acting improves. I'm not hopeful, but I'm not going to hold my breath for it at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are done with talking Time's Return, so I guess the last thing to say, since Power of the Primes is coming out, what do you hope will happen in Power of the Primes?
Better rendering! Please and thank you!
Okay, maybe something more realistic.
Slightly better rendering!
Yeah, give us like 1 or 2 cool scenes.
Okay.
Like 1 or 2 scenes that seem good, and then just the rest, whatever. I guess keep it the same. But spend all your money to make a scene or 2 really memorable and cool, so I can at least be like, well, it wasn't that good, but that one scene, sort of like Revenge of the Fallen. Like, I don't love that movie, but hey, that forest fight, gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, like, one of those things where it's like, you don't have to make the whole entire thing amazing and memorable. Just make one thing memorable, and at least you can have that one positive memory rather than making everything just okay/bad.
Yeah. Like a good positive notable. Like, there's been a lot of bad notables from this series, like, with, like, the Trypticon vomiting and the Optimus getting shot through the chest. That are just like, well, that's notable, but it's terrible. But, like a very solid notable.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I don't think Optimus Prime dying is very notable.
I mean,
maybe I'm wrong, but literally, it's happened in more than half of the
no. Like,
series, so
the event of just the fact Optimus Prime died, it's not notable, but how it happened is notable. For the fact that he had to hang in the air.
Because it was so awkward.
For 30
He was there for 30 seconds, like,
This is precisely my point. This is it too. That's precisely my point. It's notable. It's terrible. That's why
fair.
it's notable.
No, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, I just, just do better, I guess would be my thing. I think I'll be happy as long as, like, something's better.
I love how the hopes for the next series aren't like, oh, I hope that, like, this event happens in our cartoon, or oh, I hope Optimus Prime comes back or something. No, it's like, just make it better.
You know what? I have hopes for Rodimus, Overlord and Rodimus Kron. I hope that one Overlord's in it. Wait, was
he is
Overlord on
in
the
it.
cast
He is
list?
in it. He's
Okay,
on the
thank
cast
God.
list.
For a second, I was worried. I was like, I don't remember seeing his name on the list.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's
good.
not on.
I hope.
Yeah, at the very least, the wiki notes him being on the cast list, so I presume that it was actually on the voice actor cast list.
Okay, cool. So I hope that him and Rodimus Kron do a decent job / memorable or whatever. I would like to see stuff from them, and Megatron specifically are the 2 characters. Also, please don't mess up Optimus Primal, but those I'm pretty interested in Rodimus Kron, mainly because this is the first time we're getting Rodimus Kron ever.
Yes.
I mean, it looks like Shattered Glass Rodimus, but this is nothing like him. And his origins are probably what he's going to act like all that. It's just like he happens to have a similar design. So I'm eager to see what they do with him.
But admittedly, if Rodimus Kron came first, they totally would have based the Shattered Glass colors off of Rodimus Kron.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. But regardless,
mainly I want some more Kentucky Fried Chicken, Overlord.
Yeah, I do too. And I just want them to, like, do something and be relevant to the plot.
They better embrace Overlord's accent.
Yeah. Howdy, partner.
Howdy, partners. You about to die.
You're about to die to my well-cooked chicken.
Just give Overlord a cowboy hat. Like a nice 10-gallon hat,
Oh man.
And then they're gonna go overboard and just give him like the boots with like the little metal with the spurs. The boots with the spurs.
or like give him like chaps, you know? Robot chaps. Make it happen.
I mean, he's got very luscious lips already, so.
No, I meant like chaps, like the pants that cowboys wear.
Yeah.
That are like leather and yeah. Those
I don't
are
know
chaps.
why I was thinking like you were talking some form of facial hair.
No. Chaps, man.
Oh, I was thinking chops.
No, chaps.
Oh! You know what my last thought for Titans Return is?
What?
It didn't have biscuit in it, so that's better be what they have in Power of the Primes.
Why would you wish that upon Bisk? What?
No, Bisk can fix anything. You underestimate the power of Bisk, SoundJack. Actually, you know who'd be really more fitting of the series? Thermidor.
Fair.
If you haven't noticed, Thermidor is the anti-Bisk for the things I do now.
Yeah, I have noticed that. Yeah, but,
I'm having fun with him.
Yeah. Admittedly, that is fair. Bisk has not appeared in a show, so has not appeared in one of these. So it is theoretically possible that Bisk being there will just make the show amazing.
Yes, he can save it.
I mean, I do love a nice warm bowl of bisques, so.
How dare you?
I mean, like, I'm not lying. I do like a nice bisque, Although, yeah.
But anyway, I think we are done talking about Titans Return.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything else we can do without going on to more tangents.
Except telling us your Bisk theories for the Power of the Primes. We definitely want to hear about that. So let us know.
Yeah, leave the Bisk theories in the comments below. Mention how Bisk there will be a Scooby-Doo moment, and that Megatron's mask will be ripped off, and it is in fact Bisk. And then
how
like,
his
I was just
ultimate
kidding, guys.
plan
You're all
was
good.
to make everyone eat nothing but lobster bisque.
And then they have to rip Optimus Primal's face off, and that is also Bisk. And then it's revealed everyone except Megatron was Bisk.
And then Megatron makes a really weird quip as to like I knew I was surrounded by.
I knew something was making me hungry this entire time.
Like all of the combiners, they're just giant fists. They're not even combiners.
They're like jumbo bisques.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
So social media?
Yeah, social media. Alyssa, where can they find you?
So as always, my Tumblr is the big place to find me right now. That's at The Rational Dove. I once again am working on getting my Twitter back. But once that comes back, it'll be also at The Rational Dove. So follow me in those two places. Send me an ask. Say hi. I'm friendly.
And Eric, where can they find you?
You can find me on the internet.
It's a show that goes out on the internet.
Yeah, that's just that's where I stay. So just go to the internet and Google Bisk, and you'll probably actually. I'm not even kidding. There's a solid chance you can find me.
I'm going to do that right now. I'm just Bisk.
That's not how you spell.
Well,
that's how you spell the character Bisk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different Bisk. But no, if you want to find me at Eric Crowbar on Twitter, is the best place to where I respond. I'm also on Instagram if that's your thing at Aramis Prime. But the main place you should find me, which you probably are familiar with if you're on SoundJack's channel, is Nerdy Geek Talk, which is on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that good stuff, where you can subscribe to us and listen to all of our podcasts. We have lots of them. We have Transformers ones, we have superhero ones, we have Star Wars ones, we have a new Transformers Prime breakdown show that just started, TF Primecast. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff there. So definitely make sure you go head over there and subscribe if you're interested. So.
Yes, definitely. I am on there on the Steel City Boss podcast as well as on the new Misaligned podcast.
That is the one podcast I forgot to mention. I'm sorry.
And I will be doing bi-weekly reviews on that channel starting soon.
Yay!
TBH stuff.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive this coming Thursday they will start appearing, but I mean, I've said that in the past and it's failed me, so maybe I should stop saying when they'll come out, and they'll actually come out. But you can find me, SoundJack, on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426. We also have a Discord chat if you want to check that out. There is a permanent link in the description of the video. I also have a Patreon account if you want to help support the channel, since YouTube has moved the marker for me to make money off of YouTube by a very far degree. I'm not salty. No, I should stop mentioning that because that's been a long time past. What else? I do have a Tumblr. Also at SoundJack426. I just post updates of my videos on there, and honestly, I'm behind on that, so not really. I'll be having a Facebook page at some point, but that's still in the works. But yeah, you got a lot of social media. You can catch me up. Everything is in the description below. But that is all that we have to say today. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. This is where I normally do all my social media stuff. I've got to rework my outro. But again, that's all we have to say. So I was going to start my outro again. I had the same problem last time. I just need to rewrite my outro. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack, Alyssa, and Eric signing off.